Buenas. Welcome back to the channel. If you have been here before, if you're new, welcome. I am Shawnee and I'm trying to do things differently than I've ever done before. Thus, I am Shawnee Interrupted. And today is part 3 of May Money Matters. I just wanted to come and talk about where we are so far. So to recap, the first thing we did was we examined our spending and looked for clutter, and we set a goal of what we wanted to do as far as savings, or if it was something else, pay something off, whatever your goal was. The second thing that we did was we were trying to find ways to further reduce our spending by finding money in different places. And one of the things that I said was discounts and deals that you can find, like downloading certain apps that are going to give you money back so that you have to spend less, especially with groceries and the whole lot. Basically, we're trying to look on how we can cut the fat even further. When I talked about clearing the clutter, it was really about things that we're spending money on that we really don't have to, and looking at that in week 1. So week 2 was finding ways to further reduce, and this is week 3 coming up starting on Sunday. So this week I wanted to decide where we put all this money that we find, right? And that's a big part of it. So I wanted to talk about the different kinds of savings that you can utilize if that's your goal. If your goal is to pay something off, then you know you're just putting the money that you are finding towards that. So one of the things about finding ways to further reduce our spending, I didn't tell you guys because I made the video last week twice and I forgot that I didn't include it in the second one. But I was talking about my student loans in the first video, and how I was going through the public service loan program, the loan forgiveness program, and I hadn't heard anything. Well, I did hear back and they have forgiven my student loans, so I no longer have any student loan debt, which is a beautiful thing. And so that money that it would have been going towards student loan payments starting in September when we restart would have been about the same amount of money that I need to save every month to get to my $2,500 goal. So that was a blessing that I wasn't sure when it was going to come, if it was going to come. So the fact that it did was very, very timely, and I appreciated it so much. Shout out to my girl Pinette, who actually made sure that my paperwork was all sent out, and she did it twice just in case because she's a real one. I love you, Pinette. But just taking care of each other, that should be a part of everyday life, but she really was looking out for me. So thank you, Natty Boo, because I would not have gotten what I got if it weren't for you. Anyway, so this week we're looking about where to put our money. And so in doing so, I was looking at the different kinds of accounts, regular savings accounts, high yield savings accounts, and certificates of deposit. And so with a regular savings account, you're gonna get an interest of about 0.0 something or point something. And it's not a lot, but the beautiful thing about that is that you can go into a regular bank like a Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, whatever is in your area, and use your ATM to withdraw that money. So that's a good thing, and it's a bad thing if you have a problem with compulsive spending. But with the high yield accounts, usually the best rates are going to be found on the online banks. And so I was a little skeptical when dealing with those at first. But when I'm telling you that their return is their interest is 3.75, some of them are even higher depending on how much money you want to put into it, if you do direct deposit or not, or whatever the case may be. And you don't have access. The downfall and the good thing, I guess, is that you don't have an ATM card automatically. So you don't necessarily have access. When you transfer your money from the high yield account to your regular account, it could take some days. So the beautiful part about that is that if you're buying something compulsively, or if you're bad about impulse buying, then you have to wait, and so you have time to think about that, as opposed to having that money readily available. So I like that, but it's also, if you have an emergency, you can't get to your money. So this high yield accounts are really good for what I'm trying to accomplish and saving for a rainy day or whatever. And so I went with a high yield account as opposed to regular. I have a regular savings account, and something that I was looking at said you should have 4 different types of savings accounts and one of them should be a high yield and one of them should be a regular that you can easily access. And what I liked about what she was saying was, you know, in your regular account, keep a certain amount of money, like $1,000 or, you know, something like that for those rainy days or issues. But then the rest of your money, you know, should be towards something else if, you don't need early access to it so that, it grows. And so while I've decided on doing a high yield savings account, what I want to do is once I get my money into $1,000, because I'm only saving the money that I'm starting right now. So the $350 that I was able to save this month, it went to the high yield because I opened up the high yield account. And that's the only money that's going to be in this account. So by the time I'm done, I want it to be $2,500. But what I'm considering is once I make it to the $1,000 mark, which is kind of where I want to do it, I may transfer to a certificate of deposit. So where a certificate of deposit differs from a high yield savings account, because they usually have pretty good interest rates, is that you can't touch your money at all. And there's 6 months terms, 9, 11, 24. I saw one for 5 years, and there's penalty for taking your money out, and sometimes you have to have a certain amount of money to start one, to open one. And so I'm waiting for $1,000, even though the bank that I chose for my high yield account doesn't require a minimum deposit to do for your certificate of deposit. I decided I'm gonna wait until I get the $1,000 to move it over to that account, because I don't think there's much of a difference with the interest rate with the high yield versus the certificate of deposit. So I'm okay with where it is now, especially since I've just started. I did learn, because I thought that once you put a certain amount of money in a certificate of deposit or a CD, you couldn't add to it. You just left it alone and it grew, but you can actually add to it. So that's where I was kind of like shaky on that, but I learned that you can add to it. So I will move it over to a certificate of deposit and just let it grow from there once I get to the $1,000 on my quest to make at least $2,500 this month. So that's what I really wanted to talk about, was now that we've gotten to the point of finding the money and reducing our spending so that we have more money to save, what we're going to do with it. I don't know what other people are thinking. If you have thought about it and you've started something, please share what you're doing that's different that we may be able to benefit from. But I think for me, the high yield savings account is where I'm going to start. And so I already opened up the account and made the $350 deposit, which I was so proud of, because I didn't realize that I would be able to do it so quickly. But I treated it like it was a bill, so it had to be done. It wasn't like an option. So because we're trying to do something to benefit ourselves, we can't think it's optional. We have to make it a priority, especially depending on how close you are to that retirement or that new car, whatever it is you're saving for, whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, it's not an option. So treat it like it is mandatory. And so that's it for week 3. Week 4, when we come back, we're just gonna dive a little deeper and looking into different ways we can keep things going. If you have any ideas, if you have anything that you want to share that you feel like we should be able to incorporate, I'd love to hear from you. But so far, this has been really beneficial. I make these videos because it helps me to stay on track. I hope it is helping somebody else. So give me a thumbs up if it's helping anybody be a little bit better money-wise, or if you've gotten some inspiration to do something else that you needed to do. If you haven't already, please like and share these videos, hit the notifications button, and please subscribe to the channel. I hope that everybody is having a great week, and I hope that you are finding that money where it matters so that you can put it towards what matters. Thank you. And besides protecting your peace and protecting your needs, protect that money because it's important. Have a great rest of your week.